The notification didn't even make a sound. It was just a silent, ghost-like vibration against the mahogany coffee table. But in the dead silence of our apartment, it sounded like a gunshot. I wasn't meant to see it. Liam was in the kitchen pouring us wine, laughing about something stupid his boss had said earlier that day. But the screen lit up for exactly 3 seconds, and in that brief flash of light, I saw a name I hadn't heard in years, and a subject line that made my stomach drop through the floor. When Liam came back and saw me staring at his phone, the color didn't just drain from his face, it vanished. That was the moment I knew. The last 5 years hadn't been a romance. They had been a cover-up.
The air in the apartment was stale, recycled, the kind of stillness that settles over a room after a long, rainy Sunday. It was comfortable, though, or at least I thought it was. We were 5 years into this, Liam and I. 5 years of shared bank accounts, a joint lease, a cat named Miso, and the kind of unspoken rhythm where you know exactly how the other person takes their coffee without asking. It was 9:45 p.m. We were watching a documentary about deep-sea exploration. Liam was obsessed with the ocean. He loved the idea that there were things down there, miles beneath the surface, that no one had ever seen. I suppose, in hindsight, that irony is thick enough to choke on. "I'm going to grab a refill," Liam said, pausing the TV. The image froze on a grotesque bioluminescent fish hanging in the pitch black. "Pour me a half glass?" I asked, curling my legs under me on the sofa. "You got it, babe." He left his phone on the coffee table, face up. I wasn't the jealous type. I wasn't the girl who demanded passwords or scrolled through DMs while he was in the shower. We built this relationship on trust. In the beginning, when we first started dating, he told me that privacy was the highest form of respect. I believed him. I respected him. But then, the phone buzzed. It wasn't a text. It was that specific double vibration of an email notification. Usually, I wouldn't look, but the phone was right next to my hand, and the light from the screen caught my eye. From Elena M. Subject: Thinking of Us. Preview: Hey Liam, I know it's been years and I probably shouldn't be sending this, but I was driving past that bar we used to go to and... The screen went black. My heart didn't race immediately. It actually stopped. It was a physical pause, a skip in the beat that made my chest feel hollow. Elena. The name floated in my mind like oil on water. I knew that name, but from where? It wasn't a current friend. It wasn't a cousin. I racked my brain, rewinding the timeline of our life together. Elena, the marketing girl, the one from his old job, the one he worked with when we had been dating for about 6 months. I remembered her because Liam rarely talked about female coworkers. He was a guy's guy. But Elena had come up a few times. Elena made a funny joke in the meeting. Elena messed up the printer, innocuous stuff, boring stuff. Then he stopped talking about her completely. I heard the cork pop in the kitchen, the glug 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 of wine pouring into crystal glasses. My mind was racing. Thinking of Us, that bar we used to go to. Liam walked back into the room. He looked relaxed, his shoulders dropped, a soft smile on his face. He looked like the man I loved, the man I was planning to marry. "Here you go," he said, handing me the glass. I took it. My hand was steady. It's amazing how good we get at acting when survival mode kicks in. "Thanks." He sat down, reached for the remote, and then, casually, instinctively, reached for his phone. I watched him. I watched his eyes land on the screen. He tapped it to wake it up. I saw the micro-expression. It was faster than a blink, but I saw it. His eyebrows pulled together, his pupils dilated, and his breath hitched. Just a tiny, sharp intake of air. He didn't unlock the phone. He didn't open the email. He swiped the notification away aggressively. Then he turned the phone face down. "Everything okay?" I asked. My voice sounded normal. Too normal. Liam jumped slightly. He looked at me, and for a second, he looked like a deer in headlights. Yeah, fine, just work spam," You know, recruiters hitting me up at weird hours. At 10 on a Sunday, I took a sip of wine. It tasted like vinegar. They have bots now, he said quickly. Too quickly. He laughed, but the laugh didn't reach his eyes. Bots never sleep, right? Right, I said. He unpaused the documentary. The deep-sea fish started moving again. Liam stared at the TV, but he wasn't watching. I could see the tension in his jaw. He was grinding his teeth. 5 minutes passed. I need to use the bathroom, he said, standing up abruptly. He grabbed his phone. You need your phone to pee? I asked, keeping my tone light, teasing. He froze halfway to the hallway. Just gonna check the fantasy football scores while I'm in there. Bad habit. He disappeared into the bathroom. He locked the door. I sat there in the silence of the living room, the blue light of the TV washing over me. I felt sick. The water in the sink turned on. It ran loud, too loud, like he was trying to cover up a sound. I closed my eyes and replayed the preview text in my mind. Sorry things went sour between us. I miss our friendship. Sour. Friendship. And the part that stuck in my throat like a fishbone, that bar we used to go to. Liam didn't go to bars. He drank at home. He hated crowds. When we were 6 months into our relationship, he told me he was working late almost every Thursday. He said they were pushing for a deadline on the Q3 project. I looked at the bathroom door. What happened on those Thursdays, Liam? The next 3 days were an exercise in torture. I lived with a stranger. Every time Liam smiled at me, I wondered if he was smiling at a memory of her. Every time he touched my shoulder as he walked past, I felt my skin crawl. But I didn't pull away. I leaned into it. I played the part of the oblivious, happy girlfriend because I needed him comfortable. I needed him to lower his guard. He was paranoid, though. I saw it. He took his phone into the shower. He started leaving it face down on the nightstand. He changed his passcode. I saw him typing it in one morning. It was no longer his birthday. It was something longer, more complex. He was locking the fortress. But Liam forgot one thing. Technology never forgets. We had moved apartments 2 years ago. In the move, a box of junk electronics had been shoved into the top shelf of the hallway closet. Old cables, dead batteries, and his old iPad. He hadn't touched that iPad in 4 years. The screen was cracked in the corner. He'd replaced it and never wiped the old one. He just tossed it, thinking it was dead weight. On Thursday, ironically, the day of the week he used to lie about working late, Liam went to the gym. Gonna go blow off some steam, he said, kissing my forehead. Back in 2 hours. The moment the door clicked shut, I was moving. I dragged the stepladder to the closet. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I pulled the dusty box down. Pables spilled out like snakes. I dug to the bottom and found it. The silver iPad Air. I ran to the living room and plugged it in. The battery icon flashed red. Come on, come on. I stared at the screen, willing it to life. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. Finally, the Apple logo appeared. I held my breath. If he had changed his iCloud password recently, it might ask for reauthentication. If it did, I was dead in the water. The lock screen lit up. It was a picture of us, a younger version of us, from our first trip to the coast. It felt like a slap in the face. He kept a picture of me on the lock screen while he was out chasing her. I typed in the old passcode, 1122. It unlocked. I was in. The device hadn't been connected to Wi-Fi in years, which was perfect. It was a time capsule. It wouldn't sync with his current deletions. It contained the version of Liam from that year, the year of Elena. I didn't go to photos first. I went to notes. Liam used to journal. He called it clearing his head. I scrolled back. July, August, September. Entry, September 12th, 3 years ago. I don't know what I'm doing. I look at Maya and I feel guilt, but then I see E at work and the electricity is insane. We talked for 2 hours in the break room today. She gets it. She understands the creative side of me that Maya thinks is just a hobby. Is it wrong if we haven't touched? It feels like cheating, but technically I haven't done anything. My hands trembled. Maya thinks it's just a hobby? I had supported his photography for years. I bought him his first DSLR. The rewriting of history had started way back then. I scrolled forward. Entry. October 4th. We went to the Velvet Oak. Told Maya I was pulling an all-nighter on the Q3 reports. E wore that green dress. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She asked if I was happy. I didn't answer. I wanted to kiss her. I think she wanted it too. God, why is this so complicated? He didn't answer. When asked if he was happy with me, he didn't answer. I felt tears pricking my eyes, hot and sharp, but I blinked them away. I needed facts, not feelings. I switched to iMessage. The thread with Elena Work was there. It was long, thousands of messages. I started reading from the middle. Liam, you looked incredible today. It's distracting. Elena, stop it. You have a girlfriend, Liam. Liam, doesn't change how I feel. Does she know me like you do? No. I read that line 3 times. Does she know me like you do? No. It wasn't just a physical attraction. It was an emotional affair. He was dismantling our relationship brick by brick and handing the pieces to her. I scrolled to the end of the thread, to the dates where things went sour. November 20th. Elena, I can't do this anymore, Liam. You keep saying you're gonna leave her, but you don't. I'm not going to be the other woman waiting in the wings. It's her or me. Decide. Liam, I can't just kick her out, Elena. We have a lease. Her mom is sick right now. I need time. Elena, you have a week. November 28th. Liam, I tried. I couldn't do it. She cried about her mom and I just froze. I'm sorry. Elena, don't talk to me again. Unless you're single, don't ever speak to me again. I'm blocking you. I sat back on the sofa, the iPad heavy in my lap. He didn't choose me because he loved me. He chose me because he was a coward. He stayed because of the lease, because of my sick mother, who had just been diagnosed with diabetes at the time, hardly a death sentence, but he used it as a shield. He stayed because it was inconvenient to leave. And for 3 years, he had been pretending. Every I love you, every anniversary dinner, every time we talked about our future, it was all plan B. I was the consolation prize he settled for because he didn't have the guts to jump. And now, 3 years later, Elena had emailed him. She was unblocking the door. And his panic was not because he was afraid of her. His panic was because he still wanted her. The work spam excuse, the frantic blocking, it wasn't to keep her away. It was to stop himself from replying. He was terrified that if he opened that door again, he would actually leave this time. I looked at the timestamp on the iPad. Liam would be back in 45 minutes. I needed to secure this evidence. I couldn't airdrop it. It would show up on his phone. I couldn't email it from his account. I took my phone and recorded a video of me scrolling through the messages. I recorded the notes. I took high-res photos of the damning text where he promised to leave me. Then I wiped my fingerprints off the screen. I plugged the charger back in the wall, exactly how it was. I put the iPad back in the box, coiled the cables to look like a mess, and shoved it back on the top shelf. I went into the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at myself in the mirror. The Maya that loved Liam died in that hallway closet. The woman looking back at me was cold, she was calculating.
And she was ready to burn his house down. When Liam came home from the gym, he was in a better mood. The endorphins had done their job. He smelled like sweat and deodorant. A smell I used to find sexy. Now it just smelled like deception. "Hey, babe," he said, dropping his gym bag. "You look nice. Did you go out?" I was wearing a silk blouse and dark jeans. I was wearing makeup. I usually wore sweats on Thursdays. "No," I said, smiling. A sharp, bright smile. "Just felt like dressing up. I was thinking, we've been in such a rut lately. We should go out tonight." Liam hesitated. "Tonight? It's Thursday. I'm kind of beat." "Oh, come on," I said, walking over to him. I ran my hand down his chest. I felt his muscles tense. "I found this really cool spot online. It's got a great vibe. Retro, dark lighting." "Yeah?" He looked skeptical, but intrigued. "What's it called?" I paused for a beat. just long enough to make it uncomfortable. The velvet oak. The color drained from his face so fast it was almost comical. His eyes went wide, then darted to the side. The what? He stammered. The velvet oak, I repeated, enunciating every syllable. Have you heard of it? It's downtown. Apparently they have great whiskey sours. Sour. I used the word from her email. Liam coughed, clearing his throat aggressively. He turned away and started rummaging through his gym bag. Yeah, I think I've heard of it. I don't know, Maya. It's kind of a hike, and I heard the service there sucks. Really? I leaned against the doorframe. Reviews said it was great for intimate conversations. But if you don't want to go there, we can go somewhere else. Yeah, he said too quickly. Let's go to that Italian place on 5th. I'm craving Costa. Italian it is, I said. I had fired the first shot, and he was bleeding. Dinner was a performance art piece. We sat at a candlelit table. Liam ordered a bottle of wine, an expensive one. Gilt wine. So, I said, swirling my glass, I was thinking about my career today. About passion. Yeah? Liam was eating his bread nervously. Yeah. I feel like you've always been so supportive of me, but I realized I never really asked about your work friends from back in the day. We kind of lost touch with that whole crew from your old agency, didn't we? Liam choked on a piece of crust. He reached for his water. Yeah, I guess. People drift apart. You know how it is. Turnover is high in marketing. True, but you were there for 3 years. There wasn't anyone special, no one you connected with. I watched his pupils. They were pinpricks. Not really, he lied. Just work acquaintances. Nobody worth keeping around. Nobody worth keeping around. That's sad, I said, taking a sip of wine. I always thought it was nice when coworkers became close friends. Like, I don't know, when you find someone who just gets your creative side. He dropped his fork. It clattered loudly against the ceramic plate. Sorry, he muttered. Butterfingers. He knew. Somewhere deep in his lizard brain, he knew that I was touching on something dangerous. But he couldn't accuse me, because if he asked, why are you saying that, he would have to admit why it mattered. He was trapped in a cage of his own making, and I was holding the key, rattling it against the bars. You seem jumpy tonight, Liam, I observed. Just tired. Long week. Maybe you need a vacation, I suggested. We should go away. Just the two of us. Reconnect. That sounds great, he said, relieved. Where were you thinking? I don't know. Maybe somewhere near the ocean, or maybe the mountains. Somewhere secluded, where no one can find us. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Actually, I continued, I was looking at old photos for inspiration. I found this old hard drive of yours. My hard drive? Yeah, the blue one. I was looking for tax documents. I thought I lost that. His voice was an octave higher than usual. I found it in the bottom drawer, I said casually. I didn't open the personal folders, though, just the documents. I watched the sweat bead on his forehead. There was nothing on the blue hard drive. I knew that. But he didn't remember what was on it. He was terrified of what might be there. Oh, he exhaled. Yeah, good. Probably just junk on there anyway. Probably, I agreed. Although, I saw a folder labeled Inspiration. I might check it out later. I love seeing how your mind works. Liam put his napkin down. He have to use the restroom. He practically bolted from the table. I sat there, calmly eating my linguine. It was delicious. When he came back, he looked like he had splashed water on his face again. He was pale. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just stomach ache. Maybe the bread." "Oh, poor baby," I cooed. We finished dinner in relative silence. He was distracted, checking his phone under the table every few minutes, likely making sure no notifications popped up. When we got home, I initiated sex. It was calculated. I wanted to see if he could do it. I wanted to see if he could look me in the eye and be intimate with me while his mind was spinning with the ghost of Elena. He couldn't. He tried, but he was distant, mechanical. And halfway through, he stopped. "I can't," he whispered. "I'm sorry. My head is pounding." "It's okay," I said, stroking his hair. "I understand." I turned away from him and lay on my side. I understood perfectly. The guilt was eating him alive. The paranoia that I knew something was clashing with his desire to keep the secret buried. He was mentally exhausted. But I wasn't done. As he drifted off to an uneasy sleep, I grabbed my phone. I opened a burner account I had created weeks ago to stalk ex-coworkers. No profile pic, no name. I went to Elena's profile. I clicked message. This time, I didn't hesitate. I typed, "He still talks about you. Send." I didn't say who he was, I didn't say who I was, but Elena would know, and she would reply, or she would reach out to him. If I wanted to destroy Liam, I needed to bring the ghost back to life. I needed to force a confrontation that he couldn't run from. I put the phone down and listened to Liam's breathing. It was shallow, erratic. "Sleep tight, love," I thought, because the nightmare is just starting.
The morning after I sent the anonymous message, the silence in our apartment was heavy enough to crush bones. Liam was staring at his phone. He hadn't blinked in 30 seconds. His coffee was getting cold, the steam dying out, just like the warmth in our marriage. I knew exactly what he was looking at. Alina had taken the bait. I took a sip of my tea, watching him over the rim of the mug. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." He jolted, nearly knocking his mug over. Yeah, just a headache. Migraine, actually. I think I need to lay down in the dark for a bit before work." "Do you want some Tylenol?" I offered, the picture of concern. "No," he snapped. Then, softening his voice, "No, thanks. Just silence. I need silence." He retreated to the bedroom. I waited 10 seconds, then walked softly to the hallway door and pressed my ear against the wood. I heard him piecing. The floorboards creaked. Then a muffled voice. He was on a call. "Why are you messaging me?" His voice hissed. "I told you it's complicated." "Who? I don't know who sent you that." "No, she doesn't know anything." "Elena, listen to me. Stop. Don't do anything crazy." Pause. "I can't talk right now. I'll figure something out. Just don't email me again. It's not safe." He hung up. I moved away from the door, my heart pounding a rhythm of pure adrenaline. It's not safe. He talked about me like I was the KGB, like I was a threat. When he came out of the bedroom an hour later, he was dressed in his suit. He looked determined, but his eyes were darting around the room, avoiding mine. "Babe," he said, adjusting his tie, "I have to go to Chicago." I raised an eyebrow. "Chicago? Today? It's Friday." "Emergency client meeting. They're threatening to pull the contract. If I don't get FaceTime with the VP by tomorrow morning, the whole account tanks. I have to drive up this afternoon." Chicago was a 3-hour drive, far enough to require an overnight stay, close enough to drive back Sunday. "Oh, no," I said. "That sounds stressful. Should I pack your bag?" "No."
he said, too loud. I mean, I've got it. It's just a quick trip. He was going to meet her. I knew it in my bones. Elena was in Chicago. Or maybe she was meeting him halfway. The business trip is the oldest lie in the book, and Liam was playing it like an amateur. Okay, I said, walking over and fixing his collar. I looked into his eyes. They were muddy, evasive. Drive safe. Call me when you get to the hotel. Of course. He kissed me. It felt like a Judas kiss. The preparation. As soon as he went into the shower to freshen up before the drive, I went to work. I didn't have a professional GPS tracker, but I had something better. We shared a family plan on our phones, but he had disabled Find My Friends 2 days ago, claiming it was draining his battery. Smart. But he wasn't smart enough. I went to his car. He drove a black SUV. I had an old iPhone 8, my backup phone from 2 years ago. It still worked. I had charged it fully while he was in the shower. I downloaded a tracking app and set it to silent and do not disturb. I slipped into the garage. I popped the trunk of his SUV. Beneath the floor mat of the trunk, where the spare tire was stored, there was a small hollow space for tools. I wrapped the iPhone in a dark cloth to muffle vibration but not sound, and wedged it next to the jack. If he played music, I wouldn't hear much, but if he stopped, if he picked someone up, if he had a conversation in the car, I would hear everything. I enabled the auto answer accessibility feature on the iPhone. If I called it from my number, it would answer automatically without ringing, turning the phone into a listening device. I closed the trunk.
I trailed him for an hour. He didn't go to Chicago. He drove 40 minutes north to a neighboring town called Lakeview. It was a quiet, upscale suburb with a lot of parks and coffee shops, the kind of place people go to have affairs when they don't want to risk running into neighbors. He pulled into the parking lot of a boutique hotel, the Whispering Pines. I parked across the street in the lot of a pharmacy. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles were white. I watched him get out of the car. He didn't check in. He walked straight to the hotel bar, which had a patio facing the street. He sat down at a corner table. He ordered a drink. He looked at his watch. 10 minutes later, a car pulled up. A red Honda Civic. A woman stepped out. It was her. Elena. She looked exactly like her photos, maybe a little more tired. She wore a trench coat and a scarf. She didn't look like a seductress. She looked anxious. She was wringing her hands as she walked toward him. Liam stood up. He didn't hug her. He gestured for her to sit. They were too far away for me to hear them from my car. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number of the iPhone 8 hidden in his trunk. It wouldn't help me now. He wasn't in the car. I needed to get closer. I grabbed a baseball cap from my back seat and a pair of oversized sunglasses. I pulled my hair up. I put on a heavy jacket I rarely wore. I crossed the street. There was a hedge separating the sidewalk from the hotel patio. If I stood on the other side of the hedge, near the service entrance, I would be less than 10 feet away from their table. I crept closer, feeling like a criminal. The adrenaline was making my vision sharp, hyper-focused. I reached the hedge. I crouched down, pretending to tie my shoe, and then just stayed there, hidden by the thick shrubbery. I heard her voice first. It was shaking. Scared me, Liam. He still talks about you? Who sent that? Does she know? Keep your voice down, Liam hissed. Nobody knows. It's probably a spam bot or maybe you told one of your friends and they're messing with you. I haven't told anyone, Elena cried out, barely suppressing a sob. I haven't spoken your name in 3 years, not since that night. Okay, calm down. I heard the clink of glass. He was drinking. I can't calm down, she said. I felt guilty enough as it was. But then you ghosted me. You blocked me today. Why? I just wanted closure. Closure, Liam laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. Elena, we can't have closure. We have a bomb. If Maya finds out,
my life is over. Your life? Elena's voice hardened. What about her life, Liam? I froze. What about her? Liam asked dismissively. Is she still... Elena hesitated, her voice dropping to a whisper. Is she still... sick? I frowned behind the hedge. Sick? I had never been sick. I had a flu last year, sure, but... Yeah, Liam sighed. The sound was heavy, burdened. It was a performance I had never heard him give. It's gotten worse. Oh my God, Elena gasped. You said 3 years ago, you said the doctors gave her 6 months. You said it was terminal brain cancer. The world stopped spinning. The traffic noise on the street faded into a dull buzz. My blood ran cold, freezing in my veins. Terminal brain cancer. I stared at the dirt near my shoes. 3 years ago, when he was trying to sleep with her, when he was trying to keep her on the hook without leaving me. He didn't just say I was crazy. He didn't just say we were roommates. He told her I was dying. I know, Liam said, his voice dripping with fake sorrow. It's a miracle she's still here, honestly, but it's hard, Elena. She has seizures. She doesn't remember things. Some days she doesn't even know who I am. I'm her caretaker, not her boyfriend. I can't leave a dying woman. I'm not a monster. I felt bile rise in my throat. He was painting himself as a saint, a martyr, a man sacrificing his happiness to care for a terminally ill partner. That's why Elena had stayed away. That's why she had felt guilty. She thought she was stealing a man from a dying woman. She thought he was a hero for staying. I didn't know, Elena whispered. I thought... When I saw her Instagram, she looked happy. She looked healthy. Social media is fake, Liam said quickly. She posts old photos. She wants people to think she's okay. It's a coping mechanism. Behind closed doors, it's a nightmare. Screaming fits, incontinence, it's hell, Elena. But I promised her parents I'd see it through to the end.
I stood up. I didn't mean to. It was a physical reaction. My body rejected the lies so violently that I physically couldn't stay crouched on the ground. I was shaking, not with sadness, with a rage so pure, so white-hot, that I felt like I could burn the hedge down just by looking at it. He had killed me. In the eyes of this woman, and probably others, I was a walking corpse, a burden, a tragedy. He stripped me of my dignity, my health, and my agency, just so he could get laid without consequences. So, Elena said, her voice trembling, when you blocked me, it was because she had an episode? Yeah, Liam lied. She saw the email, she got confused, she started throwing things, I had to de-escalate. I'm sorry. I missed you, Elena said softly. I missed you so much. I hate that we're in this position. I know, Liam said. His voice changed. It became lower, seductive. God, looking at you right now, it makes me want to forget everything. I heard a chair scrape. Do you have a room here? Elena asked. Yeah, room 204. Maybe we can just talk up there, away from people. Just talk, Liam agreed. Come on. I crouched back down as they stood up. I watched through the leaves as Liam put his hand on the small of her back. He guided her toward the entrance of the hotel. He wasn't a victim. He wasn't trapped. He was a predator. He used my death as a pickup line. I waited until they were inside the lobby. Then I walked back to my car. I sat in the driver's seat and stared at the steering wheel. I could go in there. I could kick down the door of room 204 and scream the truth. I could show Elena my medical records. I could slap Liam across the face. But that would be too quick. That would be a scene, a moment of explosion, and then it would be over. Liam would panic, make excuses, maybe even convince Elena I was having a mental episode right then and there. No, this required surgery. Liam had built a house of cards on the foundation of my imaginary grave, and I was going to wait until he was comfortably inside that house, and then I was going to burn it down with him inside. I started my car. I wasn't going to interrupt them. Let him cheat. Let him sleep with her. Let him think he had won. Because now I had the ultimate weapon. I knew the lie, and I knew exactly how to use it. I drove home in silence. The tears finally came when I hit the highway, but they were angry tears. By the time I unlocked our apartment door, the tears had stopped. I walked into the living room. I looked at our photos on the wall. The smiling couple. The lie. I took the frame down. The one from our anniversary last year, and threw it across the room. It shattered against the wall, glass exploding everywhere. Miso the cat scattered. I stood amidst the broken glass. "Okay, Liam," I whispered to the empty room. "You want a tragedy? I'll give you a tragedy." I went to my computer. I opened a new document. I began to type. 2. The Human Resources Department. Subject: Urgent concern regarding Liam H. I wasn't sending it yet, but I was drafting the ammunition. Then, I opened a second tab. I needed to plan a funeral. Not mine, his.
When Liam returned on Sunday afternoon, I was waiting on the couch. I had spent an hour doing my makeup. Not to look beautiful, but to look diminished. I used a foundation that was 2 shades too pale. I skipped the blush. I contoured my cheekbones to look slightly more hollow. I wore a gray, oversized sweater that made my frame look smaller, frailer. I was the ghost he wanted me to be. "Hey," he said, dropping his bag. He looked exhausted, the guilt hangover. "I'm back. The client meeting was brutal." "I'm sure it was," I said softly. I didn't get up to hug him. I let my hand rest weakly on the throw blanket. "Did you save the account?" "Yeah," he exhaled, loosening his tie. "Yeah, I think I did." He walked over and kissed the top of my head. He smelled like hotel soap and her, a faint trace of vanilla perfume that wasn't mine. "You look pale," he observed, frowning. "Did you eat today?" "Not much," I whispered. "Just wasn't feeling up to it. My head has been foggy." I saw the flash of relief in his eyes. It was sick. He was relieved that I was playing into his narrative. If I was sick, his lie to Elena was safe. If I was sick, he wasn't a liar. He was a tragic hero. "I'm sorry, babe," he said, squeezing my shoulder. "I'll order us some soup." "Liam," I said, stopping him. I looked up, making my eyes wide and earnest. "I've been thinking while you were gone about us, about how much time we have." He froze. "Don't talk like that. You're fine." "I'm not," I said, "and we both know it. But I don't want to be sad. Your birthday is next Saturday." "I don't want to do anything," he said quickly. "Not this year." "I do," I insisted. "I want to throw you a dinner party. Here. Just close friends. Your boss. Maybe a few people from your old team. I want to celebrate you, Liam. I want to celebrate everything you do for me." "Maya, no. It's too much stress for you." "Please," I said, my voice cracking perfectly. "It might be the last birthday I get to plan for you." He flinched. The guilt hit him like a physical blow.
He couldn't say no to a dying woman's wish, not without looking like a monster. "Okay," he said quietly, looking at the floor. "Okay, if it means that much to you, but keep it small." "I promise," I said. "Just the people who matter." The guest list. Monday morning, Liam went to work. I went to war. I hired a high-end catering company. I ordered flowers, lilies mostly, funeral flowers, subtle but symbolic. Then I sat down at my computer to send the invitations. I invited his current boss, Mr. Henderson. I invited his two best friends from college, Mark and Dave. I invited his sister, Sarah, who had always been skeptical of him. And then I crafted the most important email of my life. I found Elena's email address from the screenshots I had taken days ago. From Maya, last name, to Elena Vance. Subject: I know everything, and I have a favor to ask. I stared at the screen. This had to be perfect. It had to be pathetic, noble, and absolutely devastating. Dear Elena, I know this email comes as a shock. I accidentally saw a notification on Liam's phone last week. Your name. I didn't say anything to him. I didn't want to cause a fight. Instead, I did something I'm not proud of. I looked you up. I saw the comments. I realize you two have a history. And honestly, I'm not angry. I'm relieved. As you probably know, my health hasn't been good. Liam tries to be strong, but I see how heavy the burden is on him. Being a caretaker to a terminally ill partner is a prison, and I hate that I've trapped him in it. I know he relies on you for emotional support. I know you're the escape he needs. I don't have much time left. My doctors are optimistic, but I know my body. I'm fading, Elena. I'm throwing a birthday dinner for Liam this Saturday. It's going to be my final gift to him. I would be honored if you would come. I want to meet the woman who makes him smile when I can't. I want to give you my blessing, face to face. I want to know that when I'm gone, he won't be alone. Please, do this for him and for me. Sincerely, Maya. I hit send. I sat back and waited. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might actually induce a medical event. 10 minutes later. Ding! From Elena. Subject: Maya, I am in tears reading this. I had no idea you knew. I feel incredibly ashamed, but your grace is overwhelming. Liam loves you so much. He talks about your strength constantly. I didn't want to intrude, but if this is truly what you want, I will be there. I would be honored to meet you. Gotcha. She bought it. She bought every word because it fit the narrative Liam had fed her. She thought I was a saint. She thought she was coming to a passing of the torch ceremony. She had no idea she was walking into an execution. The dinner party. Saturday arrived with a gray, overcast sky. Fitting. The apartment looked immaculate. The caterers were setting up in the kitchen. I had arranged the table for 10 people. Liam was a wreck. He had been drinking whiskey since 2 p.m. He was pacing the living room, adjusting his cuffs. Who exactly is coming? He asked for the 10th time. Just the list we talked about, I soothed. Mr. Henderson, Mark and Dave, Sarah, and a surprise plus 1 or 2. Surprise. He stopped pacing. I hate surprises. Trust me, I said, walking over to him. I was wearing a beautiful floor-length black dress. It was elegant, but somber. I looked like a grieving widow at her own funeral. The doorbell rang. Showtime. The first guests arrived. Mark and Dave, loud and boisterous, carrying a case of beer.
Then Mr. Henderson, Liam's boss, a stiff man in his 50s who loved Liam because Liam was a shark at sales. Then Sarah, his sister, who gave me a long, pitying hug. "How are you holding up?" Sarah whispered, eyeing my pale makeup. "I'm taking it one day at a time," I lied bravely. Liam was playing the part of the dotting host, but his eyes were manic. He kept checking the door as if he expected the police. We moved to the dining table. The wine flowed, the mood was jovial, but with an undercurrent of tension because everyone, except for the boss, sensed Liam was on edge. "I have to say," Mr. Henderson boomed, raising his glass, "Liam has been crushing his numbers this quarter, even with everything going on at home. The man is a machine." "Thanks, boss," Liam said, forcing a smile. "The work keeps me focused." "To focus," Dave cheered. Ding dong! The doorbell rang again. "Who is that?" Liam frowned. "Everyone is here." I stood up slowly, gripping the edge of the table as if I needed support. The room went quiet. "I invited one last guest," I said softly. "Someone very special to Liam." I walked to the door. Liam stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the hardwood. "Maya, wait!" I opened the door. Elena stood there. She was wearing a modest navy dress. She held a bottle of wine in one hand and a small gift bag in the other. She looked terrified, humble, and sorrowful. "Hi, I'm Elena." "I know," I said, giving her a warm, tragic smile. "Come in." I led her into the dining room. The silence that fell over the room was absolute. Liam's face went white. Not pale, white, like a sheet of paper. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked from me to Elena, his brain short-circuiting. "Elena!" he croaked. "Hi, Liam," Elena said, her voice shaking. She looked at the other guests, then at me. "Maya invited me." Liam looked at me. His eyes were wide with horror. He was waiting for me to scream. He was waiting for me to attack her. But I didn't. "Please," I said, gesturing to the empty chair directly across from Liam. "Sit down. Everyone. This is Elena. She's a very old friend of Liam's." Elena sat. She looked like she wanted to disappear. Liam sat back down, but he didn't pull his chair in. He looked like he was ready to run. "So," Dave asked, breaking the awkward tension, "how do you know Liam?" We used to work together," Elena stammered. "Ah, the old agency," Mark said. "Good times." Dinner was served. The caterers brought out plates of filet mignon. I watched Liam. He couldn't lift his fork. His hand was shaking so badly he had to hide it in his lap. He was drinking his wine like it was water. Elena was looking at me with big, watery eyes. She was waiting for the blessing. It was time. I picked up my spoon and tacked it against my wine glass. Clink, clink, clink. The room went silent. "I'd like to make a toast," I said. I stood up. I took a deep breath, letting a single tear roll down my cheek. I saw Elena wipe her own eye. Sarah reached out and held my hand. "To Liam," I began. My voice was steady, but laced with emotion. "Most of you know Liam as a great salesman, a fun friend, a brother." I looked at Sarah. "But you don't know the Liam I know." I looked down at Liam. He was staring at his plate, sweating. For the last 3 years, Liam has been carrying a secret burden. A heavy one. Liam's head snapped up. His eyes pleaded with me, "Don't." "As many of you know," I lied, looking directly at Mr. Henderson, "my health has been complicated." Mr. Henderson nodded solemnly. He didn't know anything about my health, but he nodded because that's what you do when a woman is crying.
But Liam never complained. He has been my rock, my caretaker. I turned my gaze to Elena. And recently, I found out that Liam had to make sacrifices I never asked for. I found out that he had to push people away, people he cared about, because he felt he couldn't have happiness while I was struggling. Elena let out a small sob. She covered her mouth. I invited Elena here tonight because Liam told her that I was dying. The room froze. The air was sucked out of the space. Liam stood up. Maya, he told her, I continued, my voice getting stronger, harder. He told her that I have terminal brain cancer, that I have seizures, that I'm incontinent, that he is only with me out of pity and duty to my parents. Mr. Henderson dropped his fork. Sarah gasped. Liam was paralyzed. He looked like a deer that had just been shot but hadn't fallen yet. I turned to Elena. She looked confused, scared. Elena, I said, dropping the sick act completely. My posture straightened. My voice lost its rasp. It became crystal clear. I have never had cancer. I have never had a seizure. My brain is perfectly fine. I looked back at Liam. I just had my annual physical last week, actually. Clean bill of health. I reached into the pocket of my dress and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it and tossed it onto the table. It landed right in the center, next to the centerpiece. It was my medical report from Kaiser Permanente, dated 3 days ago. Status: excellent.
So, I said, the smile falling from my face, replaced by a look of pure, icy contempt. I wanted to bring everyone here tonight to clear up the confusion. Liam isn't a tragic hero. He isn't a caretaker. I leaned forward, placing my hands on the table. He's just a liar who killed me off in his fantasies so he could sleep with his coworker guilt-free. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. Elena stood up slowly. Her face was a mask of shock. She looked at the paper on the table. Then she looked at Liam. You lied? About her dying? About everything? Liam stammered. Elena, wait, it's a metaphor. It felt like she was dying to me. Our relationship was dead. You told me she wet the bed. You told me she didn't know your name. Mr. Henderson stood up. His face was purple. Liam, is this true? Boss, it's personal, Liam pleaded, sweating profusely. It's a domestic dispute. You told the team you needed flexible hours for doctor appointments. You took 3 weeks of compassionate leave last year. Was that a lie, too? Liam looked around the room. He was surrounded. Sarah was crying, but she was looking at her brother with disgust. Mark and Dave were staring at their shoes. I picked up my wine glass. I said, "Happy birthday, Liam." Then I threw the wine in his face. It was a cliché, but God, it felt good. The red liquid splashed across his white shirt, looking like a gunshot wound to the chest. Liam wiped his eyes, sputtering. Elena didn't throw wine. She walked up to him. She was shaking with rage. I spent 3 years hating myself. I spent 3 years thinking I was the villain, thinking I was stealing a man from a dying woman. She slapped him. It was a hard, loud crack that echoed in the dining room. Don't ever contact me again. She turned and ran out the door. Mr. Henderson looked at Liam, who was dripping with wine and holding his cheek. We'll talk on Monday, Liam, if you still have a job. He left. Mark and Dave followed him, mumbling awkward apologies to me as they grabbed their coats. Sarah stayed for a moment, looking at me. I'm so sorry, Maya. I had no idea. It's okay, I said calmly. You should go. She left. The door clicked shut. It was just me and Liam. The caterers were huddled in the kitchen, silent, terrified. Liam stood there, wine dripping on the hardwood floor. He looked destroyed. His reputation, his career, his affair, his family standing, all incinerated in under 5 minutes. He looked at me with eyes full of hatred. "You happy? You ruined my life." I walked over to the table, picked up a piece of bread, and took a bite. "No, Liam," I said, chewing slowly. "I didn't ruin your life. I just turned the lights on." I grabbed my purse from the chair. I packed a bag. "I'm staying at a hotel tonight. You have until tomorrow at noon to get your stuff and get out. The lease is in my name." I checked. I walked to the door. I didn't look back. I walked out into the cool night air. I took a deep breath. It didn't smell like betrayal anymore. It smelled like rain. It smelled like freedom. But I wasn't done yet. There was one loose end. Mr. Henderson had mentioned compassionate leave. That was company fraud. And I had the documentation to prove he wasn't taking me to chemotherapy. I pulled out my phone and opened the email draft to HR I had started days ago. I attached the photo of him at the hotel bar with Alina, time-stamped during work hours. Subject: evidence of time card fraud and misconduct. Lear H. Sent. I got into my car and drove away. The funeral was over, and I was the only one walking away from the grave.
I spent that night at a Marriott downtown. I didn't sleep. I sat by the window, watching the city lights, drinking a $12 bottle of water from the mini-botter. I felt light. Physically light. It was as if I had actually been sick for 3 years, and the tumor had finally been excised. My phone blew up all night. 14 missed calls from Liam, 6 texts from Liam. I didn't read them. I didn't block him yet. I needed to coordinate the move out, but I silenced the notifications. At 9 a.m. on Monday, I received a different email. From H. Henderson, CEO, subject, regarding your email. Maya, thank you for bringing this to my attention. We take integrity very seriously at company name. We have reviewed the logs regarding Liam's compassionate leave requests from last year. We are handling this internally immediately. I am deeply sorry you were dragged into this. Please take care of yourself. It was professional code for he is finished. I went back to the apartment at noon, exactly as I had promised. I brought my dad with me. I didn't think Liam would be violent, but I wasn't taking chances with a man who had nothing left to lose. The apartment was a disaster zone. There were boxes everywhere, clothes were thrown into garbage bags. The wine stain on the floor from the night before was still sticky, he hadn't even cleaned it. Liam was in the bedroom, shoving shoes into a duffel bag. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. His eyes were red, his shirt rumpled. When he saw my dad standing in the doorway, arms crossed, Liam flinched. "You brought backup?" He spat, his voice hoarse. "I brought a witness," I said calmly. "Is your key on the counter?" Liam zipped the bag aggressively. He walked over to me, ignoring my father. He stopped 2 feet away. "You really did it," he whispered. "Henderson fired me this morning, effective immediately. Gross misconduct. They're talking about suing me to get the salary back from the leave days." "Actions have consequences, Liam." "It was a lie, Maya. A stupid lie to get out of a sticky situation." He threw his hands up. "I didn't kill anyone. Why did you have to burn my career down?" "You killed me," I said, my voice low. "For 3 years, you erased me. You turned me into a tragedy so you could get sympathy sex. You stole my dignity." "I loved you," he shouted. "I stayed. I didn't leave you for her." "You didn't stay because you loved me," I corrected him. "You stayed because you were too cowardly to be the bad guy. You wanted to be the hero who stayed with the sick girl and the lover who comforted the other woman. You wanted to be everything to everyone. And now, you're nothing to anyone." He stared at me, his jaw working. He wanted to scream, he wanted to blame me, but the truth was a wall he couldn't punch through. "Get out," I said. He grabbed his duffel bag, he walked to the door. He paused at the threshold, looking back at the apartment, the life we built, the couch we bought together, the scratch post for miso, You'll never find someone who put up with your moods like I did, he sneered, a last desperate attempt to hurt me. I laughed. It was a genuine laugh. Liam, I said, smiling, I don't have moods. I was just unhappy because I was living with you. He slammed the door. My dad let out a long breath. Good riddance. I walked over to the counter. His key was there. I picked it up and dropped it into the trash can. It was over. Chapter 8. The Clean Bill of Health. 6 months later. The apartment looks different now. I painted the walls. The beige is gone, replaced by a soft sage green color. I bought a new rug. I threw out the mattress and bought a new one, a firm one, the kind Liam hated. I sit on my balcony, drinking coffee. It's a Sunday morning. I am single, and I am never happier. I heard through the grapevine, aka social media stalking via friends, what happened to Liam. He had to move back in with his parents in Ohio for a few months. He couldn't get a job in marketing in the city. Word spreads fast in this industry, and fraud is a stain that doesn't wash out. He's working sales for a solar panel company now. Cold calling. Commission only. Elena messaged me once, a week after the dinner. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix it, but I'm sorry. I believed him. I blocked him on everything. I hope you're okay. I didn't reply. I just deleted it. I didn't need her apology, and I didn't need her guilt. She was just a pawn on his chessboard, same as me. I put my mug down and pick up my phone. I scroll through my camera roll. There are no pictures of Liam. I deleted them all. Every birthday, every vacation, every fake smile. Instead, the gallery is full of me. Me hiking in the mountains, me with my friends at a karaoke bar, me holding Miso, who looks fluffier and happier now that the tension is gone from the house. I realized something important during the cleanup of my life. Liam told everyone I was dying. He told them I was weak, fading, a shell of a person. And in a way, while I was with him, I was. I was making myself smaller to fit into the space he allowed me. I was ignoring my gut instincts. I was letting my intuition atrophy. But the moment I decided to fight back, the moment I tracked him to that hotel and planned that dinner, I came back to life. I stand up and walk to the railing, looking out at the city skyline. The air is crisp. The sun is warm on my face. I am not sick. I am not a victim. I am the woman who caught a liar, burned his fortress to the ground, and walked out of the flames without a smudge of ash on her face. My phone buzzes. It's a text from a guy named Alex. I met him at a pottery class last week. Hey, are we still on for coffee at 2? I smile. Yes, see you there. I grab my purse and head out the door. I don't look back at the empty apartment. I have a life to live, and this time, it's going to be real.
And that is how I dismantled the life of the man who tried to bury me while I was still breathing. It's funny. Liam spent 3 years telling people I was dying. He used my imaginary illness as a shield to protect his own ego. But he forgot the most important rule of nature, survival instinct. He thought I was weak. He thought I was oblivious. He thought he could write my story for me. But in the end, I held the pen, and I wrote him out of the script completely. If you're watching this and you feel like something is off in your relationship, if the math doesn't add up, if the spam emails feel too personal, trust that feeling. Your intuition is your superpower. Don't ignore it, because the truth always comes out.
sometimes you just have to grab a shovel and dig for it. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe. I've got plenty more stories where the liar doesn't get away with it. Stay safe, stay sharp, and never let anyone tell you who you are.